Okay, guys, I hope you're all keeping well. This is the next tutorial in our Irish music unit. Thank you for submitting your prep and research on the last ones. I've sent you all feedback on Google Classroom and by email and so on. Just very quickly to point out, these tutorials are condensed into 15-minute videos purely because the software I'm using for it only allows me 15 minutes. There are, as you can see, videos as we go along that I do expect you to watch. So pause the tutorial at certain points when the videos come up. Now, while I do completely understand you can't click on the YouTube clips that I'm putting up here within the presentation or within the tutorial here now, I have uploaded the tutorial, sorry, the slideshow into the Google Drive, the school's Google Drive. So if you go into Google Drive from your school email account, and you'll see in the folder remote education, you'll see form 5, then music, and it's in there, as is the last one. So I've put that up well as well, and I'll keep putting them up. So when you see a YouTube clip here in these tutorials, I'm not going to play them here because time won't allow it, but if you open up the presentation from the Google Drive, you'll be able to press pause and watch them as you go along. Okay, so carrying on with Irish instruments. The first tutorial, or first lesson we looked at, dealt purely with the fiddle. This one is going to deal with a few different instruments, and you will have a similar type prep exercise at the end of this. I'm going to extend the deadline though. I'm going to give you plenty of time to do this. There'll be no panic on it. So whereas the first tutorial just dealt with the fiddle, we're here now, we're looking at 3 different instruments. The tin whistle, or the fadóg stán. Fadóg stán being the Irish for tin whistle, for those of you not familiar with the language. The low whistle and the flute. The Irish flute we're dealing with here, by the way, not a classical or an orchestral flute. You'll see what I mean by that when we get there. The tin whistle, this is the first one we're going to deal with here. Dates back to the 12th century, made of tin, brass, wood, or plastic. There are 6 holes on which a major scale can be played and has a range of just over 2 octaves. The 2 main types of tin whistle, the Clarke whistle and the generation whistle. This is a picture here of the Clarke style tin whistle, or whistle I suppose, not made out of tin, made out of rolled metal. It has a wooden fipple or plug at the top, and it has a breathy tone that's caused by the material. It's a wooden instrument as opposed to a tin instrument, so it has a warmer, as I say, breathy tone here. Then the generation style, you'll all have seen these. A lot of you will probably have one. You might have even learnt one when you were in primary school. It's the most popular today. It has a plastic mouthpiece, as you can see, and it has a clearer, I suppose, brighter tone because of the construction material of the metal there. So most whistles you'll buy will be in the key of C or D. Now, what does that mean? A lot of you ask me these kind of questions. Okay, it means basically the notes. So not every piece of music you can play on, say, a piano or any instrument for that matter, or on what we call a chromatic instrument, can be played on a tin whistle. It can only play songs in the key of C or in the key of D. Or anything with 1 sharp in it or 2 sharps in it. I know C has no sharps or flats, but most traditional Irish music only has 1 or 2 sharps as its key signature. You won't see anything in B flat or F sharp or anything like that in traditional Irish music. So with that in mind, you can only play in those keys, C, D or G. Potentially A as well. There are some instruments that can, like the traditional Irish flute, which can play in the key of A. But for the most part, we're dealing with D or G. So it has a key signature of F sharp. So a D whistle is more appropriate. That is because if you buy a C or if you have a C whistle, there's no F sharp in the scale of C. So if you're playing something in the key of D, it restricts you from playing that note, which is no good to us. Okay. So here you go. Here's the first of the videos. Like I say, this is a demonstration of the Clarke whistle. This is the wooden whistle. I'm not going to play this here now, but if you go to the slideshow in the Google Drive, you will be able to see these demonstrations. And please do. I expect you to do this. Don't just fly through this. If we were in class right now, I would be playing this video in its entirety. I also have one there of the generation tin whistle. So please do look at these tutorials. Ornamentation on a tin whistle. Okay, so these include cuts, rolls, slides, and crans. This is a new one. We didn't deal with the cran in the when we were dealing with the fiddle. The cran is actually typically a piping ornamentation, but it can be applied to the tin whistle as well. So just looking at these very quickly, a cut is a grace note that can separate two notes or accentuate the note that follows it. A grace note is what most of you would know that from, and most of you play instruments that you can play a grace note on. If you're a drummer or a percussionist, you would know that as a flam. A double cut or a casa, more commonly known as double cut, I would say, I rarely hear it referred to as a casa, is when you insert two very quick notes before the principal note. You can see it there. It's essentially the same as the cut, but there's two notes beforehand, two grace notes. The long roll consists of a main note, a cut on that note, by tapping on the note directly below it and then coming back to the main note. I have tutorials of these coming up here as well. And the short roll is used on crotchets, mainly in reels. It starts with the cut on the main note. It tends to be tongued to achieve the effect. As we see here, the cran is an uilleann pipes ornament, and please do pause the video and look at these couple of paragraphs here. By the way, this comes from the Higgins and Higgins Leave Insert book here. These notes here are not my own notes. And again, I have a series of videos here that demonstrate these different ornaments. And again, you won't be able to play them if you're watching this just on the YouTube channel now. But if you go to the Google Drive, you can play these videos. The cut, the roll, the cran. I'm actually going to play a little bit of the cran here because this is an important one. So just have a look at this.
The next tune we're going to work on is called Humorous Valley Long. It's a 4-part jig. We're going to demonstrate the cran, which is a 3 grace note ornament. It's actually a piping ornament from 3 long pipes. I'm going to use the bottom 3 fingers right here. These 3 here. So I'm going to play it slowly for you, the cran first, just so you can hear what I'm talking about. I'll play it up tempo so you can get an idea of how it's supposed to sound in the tune. So here's the cran on D. Play it up tempo so you can hear it.
Okay guys, so there's the cran. Okay, so I would encourage you to watch that video in its entirety. The next one we have is vibrato. Vibrato can be achieved by opening and closing an open hole or by varying the breath pressure. It's a tricky one to master this. And again, it's on the on the Google Drive. You'll find this spreadsheet. You'll find this slideshow. Have a look at it from 4 minutes and 33 seconds in, because that's where this tutorial deals with the vibrato. But do please look at the rest of this, because you will see all the other ornamentations are demonstrated in this little video here. So it's a very, very helpful one. Okay, moving on. The next instrument, the low whistle. The low whistle appeared in the early 1970s and was made from aluminium tube. It is usually tuned to D, an octave below the usual D tin whistle, and is twice as long. It's about the same size as a flute. The most popular models are not tunable. It is especially effective for slow airs. The piper Davy Spillane played the low whistle in Riverdance. The opening piece of Riverdance, Reel Around the Sun, begins with a kind of a slow air on the low whistle, played by Davy Spillane. So I strongly suggest having a listen to this. It's beautiful. But this video here again is just a gorgeous demonstration of the low whistle. It's a beautiful instrument. I just can play a little bit of this for you. Okay, and again you can watch that in its entirety from the Google Drive. Okay, and then moving along to the flute itself. Okay, now of course we're dealing with the Irish flute here. There's the Irish flute and there's the classic flute. Now, as you can see, there are significant differences between the two. So the classical flute is what we call a chromatic instrument. Every note can be played on it. The Irish flute, in its simple form like this, can't. Okay, you have a mouthpiece and embouchure, and generally 6 holes or more in which to play the notes. The flute is traditionally made with boxwood or ebony, has a mouth hole and 6 holes. The keys you can play in now, D, G and A are available to us here, but again it's usually D and G, the keys that we play traditional Irish music in. A is possible, but it's not as common. D and G are the two that we generally deal with. You can apply an extension to the Irish flute to make it fully chromatic. It's not common, but it can be done. This has the benefit of, it means we'll now be able to play any piece of music on the traditional Irish flute. It has a range of over 2 octaves and it has a mellower tone due to the wood, the material it's made of. Its tempo and dynamics remain even. And again, these points here are from the Higgins and Higgins Leave Insert book. Very helpful book indeed. And just the last point there refers to tempo and dynamics. Essentially, that means that you can't play loud or soft. It's just a steady volume, generally speaking, throughout every piece when we play a traditional Irish flute. The ornaments. Okay, so again, some of these ornaments we've seen already. The cut, the roll, we've seen these already, but they are just played a little bit differently on the flute. And again, I would encourage you now to pause the video at this point and read this page in front of you. This is what we would be. This is the handout I would be giving you in class anyway. So we have the long roll, the short roll, the cran, we have the tap, the flick, and we have a long cran and a short cran. And again, this video deals with the first three of these ornaments, the taps, the cuts, the rolls, and the second video here deals with the cran from about 40 seconds in. Let me just play this for you from where I'm talking about here.
Often asked for cran goes like this. Usually I usually use it on a D, and it involves using your middle fingers. So it would look something like this. And again, when you lift your fingers, you don't actually want to hear a pitch. You don't want to hear one of the pitfalls.
So there's a demonstration of the cran, guys. Please watch all of that video if you can. There are three main flute styles: the Sligo style, the Leitrim / North Roscommon style, and the Belfast style. Okay, so the Sligo style, players tend to play quickly. There are long phrases, and there are lots of descending rolls and triplets. The Leitrim and North Roscommon style is less ornate, more rhythmical. Players tend to articulate notes with the tongue, and there are shorter phrases. The Belfast style, shrill and energetic, and is heavily influenced by fife and drum bands. A very famous flautist, Irish flute player, Matt Malloy. Okay, this guy is probably the most famous, is still alive, and actually runs a bar down in Mayo. The Matt Malloy bar, very famous bar for traditional Irish music. He's from Roscommon. He first popularised the cran and the flute. As I said earlier, this was typically a piping ornamentation, but he popularised it on the flute. And he has performed with the Bothy Band and currently with the Chieftains. The Chieftains are his are still going. In between playing with the Bothy Band and the Chieftains, he did an awful lot of solo work. His most famous recordings include Jenny's Chicken and the Mason's Apron. So there you go, guys. I'm now going to put up an assignment on Google Classroom. It will be an essay-style question like the last one. I'm going to give you plenty of time to do this one because I appreciate at the moment you're all up to your eyes with a lot of work being sent home and so on. Okay, guys, thank you very much. Hope you're all staying safe and well, and I'll see you at the next tutorial. Okay, bye, everyone.